There's a real challenge of still targeting the female audience. Maybe that's because a lot of the decision makers are still male, but we have this policy. The males are our allies. You'll never hear us complain about the men. If we don't have them at the table, marching with us side by side, we will not have a movement. And it's happening. We're seeing this amazing movement, amazing participant of our male allies, and the the motorsports and automotive industry is listening. I love the growth of motorsports. It's top of everybody's mind. I just hope that people don't get greedy and continue high prices of tickets and things like that. That's going to nix the fans out. If you don't have the fans, you don't have motorsports. And that's something that I really think the industry needs to look into. And in 2 years, we had 400 women test driving Ferraris. The amazing thing about that, Jason, was 99% of them that had showed up had never driven a Ferrari, let alone been in a Ferrari. And the comments were like, I can't do this, or I'm not empowered, or my husband wouldn't want me to do this. And when they got out of the cars, they were so empowered. Hi, this is Cindy Sisson, Executive Director of Women in Motorsports North America, here with Jason Stein with Cars and Culture.
What an honor to have Cindy on the program. She's just coming off an enormously impactful December event that we're going to get right to and talk about, because I know how cool it was. I've read about it. I've seen it. I wish I was there. I'm going to be there this year. But Cindy, thank you for joining us here on Cars and Culture.
Such an honor, Jason. I appreciate Pam Miller connecting us and you sharing your long-term relationship with Lynn St. James and Beth Peretta, the co-founder of our foundation.
It's wonderful, the work that all of you have done. And I want to talk about the history of that, but fill our audience in for a minute on Indianapolis and how important it was to have your fourth summit. And I know this is now a unbelievably do I have the math right? A 34-year journey on this one. Do you go back to the LPGA?
Oh, wow. You really did do your homework.
Yeah. It all started on a golf course, and now
It all started on a golf course. In 1991, I was the director of marketing for the Ladies Professional Golf Association. We were having a challenge. Women weren't feeling welcomed. Women were actually suing the industry for equality. And I just said, this is ridiculous. So I raised my hand and pledged to put together a summit to teach the economic value of the women golfer to the golf industry. And it worked. It's totally changed the golf industry. Our first event was in Orlando at the Marriott. I was hoping to have it in Daytona, but we grew so fast we had to move it to a new location. And then my dear friend Paul Spangler, who runs Pebble Beach, raised his hand. And every other year they did at Summit in the golf industry, and then it was at the Women's U.S. Open. But I was very blessed to have Lynn St. James, who was president of the Women's Sports Foundation at the time, to come on board and part of the original one with golf. And 30 years later, I got a call from Matt Cruz, who is the founder of the Music City Grand Prix, right at the end of COVID. Cindy, we have this new race. We need to do something big in the industry. Dream big. So I called Lynn and I said, hey, should we dust off that summit we did in the golf industry and try to make a difference in the motorsports industry? And that's how it all started.
3 years ago, that call came and you had a couple of problems. You're in the middle of COVID, of course, just coming out of that to some extent, and you didn't have any money. Yeah. Right? But you had an American Express card.
I think that one was green, actually, not platinum, and I didn't get all the benefits that I do now.
No, but tell me, I mean, the idea here was to do what with the summit? What did you, I know that there's an overriding mission here, and that is the one that was mirrored with the LPGA, which was that there was very little understanding with how to market to women. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. Even still today, I think, not just motorsports or automotive or golf, there's a real challenge of still targeting the female audience. Maybe that's because a lot of the decision makers are still male, but we have this policy. The males are our allies. You'll never hear us complain about the men. If we don't have them at the table, marching with us side by side, we will not have a movement. And it's happening. We're seeing this amazing movement, amazing participant of our male allies, and the the motorsports and automotive industry is listening.
So women with drive and driven by Mobile One, you had a huge sponsor supporter there. The summit, sum up for me what you were able to produce in those couple of days in Indianapolis in early December.
Yeah, as you said, it's our fourth annual. I'm very proud to say that it's our fourth annual sold out event. We had 620 participants. The year before that, we had 450. That was in Phoenix, 330 in Charlotte, and 110 in a honky tonk bar in Nashville, Tennessee.
Wow.
And you just kind of put it out in the universe, and that's our biggest fundraiser for WIMNA. So we do a lot of hard work. We're very blessed to have a gal named Tina Barnes-Budd, who also worked for me at the LPGA, did the first Women in Golf Summit, and has produced all 4 of the Women with Drive Summits. 3 years ago, I got a call from Sharon Bronner, who was then the president of the National Corvette Museum, saying, you need to meet Michelle Hassinger. She's with Mobile One, and I think she could be a participant. And in about a month, we put together a deal, and lo and behold, 3 years later, they're still the partner, and we'll be making a big announcement at Daytona that they'll be renewing.
Yeah, wonderful. And any plans, are they solidified yet with where you'll do it this year?
Well, when Lynn and I originally sought out, we thought we'd go to different race markets, but what was proving in each market, you have to create a whole new set of relationships, hotels, the convention centers. And we were very blessed by Doug Bowles from IMS and Jim Lau and Michael Good from PRI saying, hey, would you guys ever think about, listen to me, you gals ever think about doing the summit leading into PRI? It's kind of a built-in audience. So what happened is I went on a tour with Doug and his team over at IMS, and we realized December is not a place to hold a summit at the Speedway because there really is no location. So we ended up doing a big breakfast there and then doing it at the convention center at PRI. And just like our announcement with Mobile One, your audience will hear it first, probably down the road. We'll be doing it again at PRI. It was the perfect storm for us all to be together as a team.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Number 5 on its way. Tell me a little bit about Women in Motorsports North America. I know that this is a community of professional women and men, and the goal is simple, right? It's to enable opportunities for women across all motorsports disciplines. You want to have a positive effect on motorsports. The genesis of it, the gist of it, are you making progress?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we never say we're trying to change motorsports. We 100% focus on growing motorsports with 52% of the population that I don't want to say it's ignored, because the fastest growing segment of motorsports is women and women fans. And I'll have to give Driven to Success a lot of the success for that movement. But we are seeing the growth, and every single year you see more and more ladies out at the racetrack, not only as fans, but as engineers and mechanics and PR and marketing. And one of my favorite groups is the volunteers. So 4 years ago when we started the summit, Lynn and Beth had her almost all female team at Indy. Lynn was over the wall. Lynn got really excited. She started crying, and she said to Beth, finally, for the first time, I don't feel alone. And Beth said, wink, wink, we gotcha. And so the two of them collaborated for about four to 6 months, identified about 60 people in the industry that they thought would have an interest in advancing the idea of creating women in motorsports in North America. So it wasn't just like it happened overnight. And we were incorporated in April of 2021. I started mostly as an executive director volunteering because we had no money. So for about a year and a half, I volunteered. One of our big first investors was Busch Light, and we created a program called Accelerator. And it was a contingency fund-based program that Lynn had always had a dream of doing. That's a merit-based program. And Busch Light said, we're in. 21 and older, ladies 21 and older, only in NASCAR. And we had a $200,000 contingency fund to dole out. We did that 2 years in a row. They have since not renewed. And I'm telling you that story is because we are looking for a new partner, putting it out in the universe, but we want to extend it to all women, all ages, all series. And we have the mathematical formula to do that. We have many willing participants. We just need the funding. And ideally, I want to take it to a whole new level. Motorsports is real challenge, especially drivers with funding. That's the number one question or answer you're going to get. Why are more women not racing? Well, if WIMNA can help find that funding, even if it's $1,000, that helps them race or pay for a fee or pay for maybe 2 tires, but whatever we can do to help. So that's a real important initiative for me right now. We have other programming, Shiro Award. This was started 2 years ago, coming on our third with Jostens, where we recognize amazing women who would normally not be recognized. It's Hilda, who is a volunteer at IMS, who has run security for 25 years, and no one really said thank you. I'm sure Indy says thank you to her, but we want the industry to say thank you for her hard work and dedication. And we were blessed this year. Advanced Health came on board. They'll be our partner again for next year. And last year, Vicky Martinez with Path to the Pits was our winner. And Abby Hempy the year before was our winner. And it's a really great way to recognize women in the industry.
Yeah, well done. Your story, Cindy, is one that is the power of persistence, networking. You are the self-proclaimed super connector. I believe it, knowing the number of people who you know. And it's also about collaboration and finding new opportunities and supporting one another, breaking barriers, achieving new heights. Could you ever have expected when you were growing up in Iowa before moving to California, right, that this would even be a pathway for you?
I believe God's calling for me is to do exactly what I'm doing right now. I have been so blessed in my career. I look at all the different ladders and connections that I made and in different industries, and it's a crescendo to where I am right now. I'm a big giver, sometimes too much, but I truly believe when you give, you receive. And so I'm stepping into, let's say way into second half of my life right now. And I love helping people out. And I have no apologies for giving and giving, because it works. It comes full circle. And I'm doing a little soul searching right now, actually, that you would bring that up. I'm reading a book that I just absolutely love called Let Them by Mel Robbins, and she's changing my life. And I highly recommend that book, but you have to proceed in life with the attitude that you're not always wanting something in return. And all these gifts that I have given over the years are coming back tenfold, and it's a real blessing.
You're a long way from your dad working at the GM plant, right, in Van Nuys, where he spent
where did you find all this? Oh my goodness.
A great research team at Cars and Culture.
Yeah.
No, I mean 50 years. I mean, he was an auto worker, right? And
he was a line worker.
He was a line worker. He was a car guy. He had cars all the time. You had cars. A little bit of trip down memory lane here with 65 white Mustang. Thanks to your brother, he moved on to a different vehicle after that accident. 68 Camaro. But you've had it. My whole point is that you've had this in your blood, the automotive piece of it, haven't you?
Yeah. I have to laugh. I say yes and no. I've had really cool cars. But my favorite story to tell, and I'm surprised you didn't find this, is I used to work for Jack Roush and Roush Racing and helped launch the Roush aftermarket business. And he was just launching his Roush Mustang, and I was at SEMA, and I wasn't really a booth babe, as you would call it, but I was in the booth representing Roush. And the hood was open, and these couple of guys walked up, and they're looking at the engine, and they said, "So, Cindy, how big's that engine?" I said, "Oh, I don't know, 3 feet by 4 feet." So that's about as much as I know about cars. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But I put air in my tires the first time last year, and I felt free at last because I always had my dad or my husband. I wouldn't say my son do it, but for me, it ties in with the name of your show, Cars and Culture. For me, it's the culture of the cars, not the cars themselves.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at understanding cars or naming cars, but anything below the hood of the car, I know nothing about.
You and me both. Let's
Okay,
go.
good.
Let, let's go to your Roush history. Many people would not know that you were part of the program that put Gatorade on the map with racing. One of their first sponsorships was actually at Indianapolis. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. And
Gatorade's very first sponsorship was Indy 500.
yeah, that you were a part of.
No, no, God, I'm not that old. No, 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 no. That was way before my time.
But you worked for Gatorade, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
So I was one of, I think, only two women in the history of Gatorade to be a sports marketing manager. And I, was very blessed. I not only handled NASCAR, but I handled the NFL, NBA, Major League Soccer, but I fell in love with this thing called NASCAR. And I noticed on the bottles of Gatorade bottles, they had all the logos of the major sports properties, but they didn't have NASCAR. And I convinced the team that we should add this brand out of the South that's growing growing exponentially to the NASCAR bottles. And we took that brand into retail, and it quickly became one of the best activated Gatorade sponsorships. I also ran the Gatorade Circle of Champions. So after every race, there was a contingency fund award, and the driver would get money and a plaque, and I would present it. That's really how I got to know a lot of folks in NASCAR. That was a really cool era. There was a guy named Ed Scholl. He is Mr. NASCAR. He is Mr. Gatorade. He's not with us anymore, but if you bring up Gatorade, you're going to hear the name Ed Scholl. He was an angel to many.
That's right. And Ray-Ban. God, the Ray-Ban stories you've told are monumental. The marketing of Ray-Ban in motorsports. And that goes back to your Roush days, doesn't it?
Well, no, that doesn't go to my Roush days. Let's see. After Gatorade, I was leaving. It was before my Roush days. So I was at
Okay.
Gatorade. I was living in Chicago, and I had dinner with a gentleman who was working for Ray-Ban. And I said, you guys should really look at a NASCAR. Well, we don't know anybody. I said, I had a napkin. I said, I'll make you a $15,000 bet right now that I can get Jeff Gordon to wear your sunglasses. And he signed it. So I called John Bickford. Next day, John, how about having Jeff wear Ray-Ban sunglasses? And he said, sure. So I got that deal done in 24 hours and put together a program with Ray-Ban where we had every single driver, crew chief, team member, wives, spouses of all, got free pairs of Ray-Ban sunglasses. And the only two we didn't have at the time was Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Rusty Wallace. We put together a program in 1996, and I'm going to get a little twisted, but we went out and got what I thought was $1 million insurance policy. So any driver that proved they're wearing the Ray-Ban sunglasses in victory lane that either won 9 races or 6 poles or vice versa would get $1 million. And that year came down to Jeff Gordon. I want to say it was 1994, and he was on the bubble for either one. And I quickly realized we did not have the insurance policy, so
No.
I was sweating the big one. But he ended up not winning it. He still had a great season that year and had plenty of sunglasses, but he was the first, that was the first endorsement deal Jeff ever had. We did his photo op in Daytona. Ray Abraham was there. We put makeup on him, and Ray and the team were just like chuckling up, oh my God, Jeff Gordon with makeup on. He had a little mustache back then.
That's
too,
right.
But that was a really neat project to be working on.
You had such a colorful, varied marketing career. And you mentioned it a minute ago, all of the leagues that you were involved in. How much have you, as you reflect back, to see where NASCAR is today, to see where motorsports, frankly, is in the American psyche today, it's got to be remarkable to you. Because I know the money was flying then, and it was all brand new, and they were pouring all kinds of cash into various opportunities. But to think about how much it's all changed, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, wow. That's one of those stump me kind of questions, isn't
Mm,
it?
yeah.
It's a challenge. I mean, what's the challenge is the growth. I mean, you got to see what IMSA's doing with John Doonan and the growth of IMSA.
Hmm.
It just means more teams, more money needed in the sport. And I love the growth of motorsports. It's top of everybody's mind. I just hope that people don't get greedy and continue for high prices of tickets and things like that. That's going to nix the fans out. If you don't have the fans, you don't have motorsports, and that's something that I really think the industry needs to look into.
Well,
I
we see that.
do.
Yeah, I'm
Go
sorry. Go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
no, no. You go ahead.
Well, we see it just to your point on ticket prices. I mean, we see it, the escalation of those and the popularity of Formula One, but no average fan, very few average fans can actually afford a Formula One ticket.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Not only the ticket but then the food and beverage that goes around that. Even at some of the other races, prefer not to say series, but you see that a lot. You see families not being able to afford either the hotels or the price of beer or whatever. We've got to go back and level set and make it a more accessible sport for all ages, all diversities, and all income levels. There's got to be, something that's done to get more fans in the seats that they can afford to be at the races.
Yeah. When you think about how marketing has changed too, are you still an interested observer in how these sports market themselves?
Oh, 100%. That's what it's all about. Yeah,
Yeah.
I live each day to try and create something that, and again, I'm focused on motorsports. I've been on calls this morning with Syracuse University and other. I think part of the future is looking to the younger part of the future. So even as low as middle schools and high schools. I had a meeting last week with the Cal Ripken Foundation. Now, you would think Cal Ripken baseball. I had no idea how deep they are into STEM. And so I'm looking at establishing a relationship with them so we can introduce young girls to motorsports at an early age. And back to the summit for a moment, the greatest growth for us is the collegiate universities. 3 years ago, we had 4 universities and roughly 9 students. This year, we had 28 universities and 52 students. That's the future, not only for fandom, if you will, but that's the future workforce. And I feel my calling is to really get to that younger base so we can help maintain and grow this amazing thing called motorsports.
Yeah, you've done some amazing things, organizing the first ever women only Ferrari test drives. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, Steve Sedler with Foreign Cars Italia, he's a geeky fan of women in motorsports. He used to work with Sarah Fisher. And I called him one day and I said, you know, let's try this idea of getting women to test drive Ferraris. And he said, sure. So we did these events where we had 24 women, 12 in the morning, 12 in the afternoon. They both be there for lunch with a keynote speaker. And in 2 years, we had 400 women test driving Ferraris. The amazing thing about that, Jason, was 99% of them that had showed up had never driven a Ferrari, let alone been in a Ferrari. And the comments were like, I can't do this, or I'm not empowered, or my husband wouldn't want me to do this. And when they got out of the cars, they were so empowered. They're buying exotic cars. One woman in particular, her name is Anne. There is a little funny story about Anne, but I won't tell the whole story. But a month later, she called me crying because she just bought this beautiful new Porsche. And she goes, it's because you had me in a Ferrari that empowered me to buy the Porsche. And now Anne hosts one of the largest car shows, Luftgekühlt, air engine
Yeah,
Porsches here in
yeah,
North Carolina. And she's taken the world by storm because she drove a Ferrari. And I think that's the same thing with what I did with the LPGA or doing with motorsports. If we just get them in the door, they will
right.
come. And that was that's been a really rewarding chapter of my life.
You know,
I
we have
don't own
Victoria.
a Ferrari. I don't have a Ferrari though.
We had Victoria Bruno on the program. She's a young Ferrari mechanic. We had her on early, and she's making waves all over the place as one of very few young Ferrari mechanics who happen to be female. And she told just, I mean, the inspirational story of just getting in there, having an opportunity to walk through the door. And I think that that's been your mindset as well. Documentaries. Pam Miller talked about documentaries when she was on with us, and all of the work that you're doing to put some legendary figures, perhaps less known figures, out there. Give me a few of your favorite moments from being involved with that.
Oh, I just got huge goosebumps on that one. Each of the three ladies that we've been blessed to work with, their stories need to be shared. If you don't know your past, how can you trailblaze into the future? But I'll maybe tip on each one. Betty Skelton, sadly died in the 80s, so we didn't get to meet her, but this is right at the end of COVID, and a lot of her, which is very little stuff, was at the Smithsonian. It took us quite a while to get down there, but they let us come in at 4 a.m, and her plane, little stinker, as the entrance of the Smithsonian, flipped upside down because that's how she flew. And both Pam and I, independently, of course, laid on the floor, looked up at the ceiling, took pictures, and had one with Betty. And that was kind of a moment where she came into our heart, and she shared places that we should be digging for things. But her documentary is so important. Both Pam and I, ironically, were at the GM Tech Center this week with Mark Stylo and Eric Warren, who are leading the motorsports for GM. And we got towards the end, and they had a big picture of Betty Skelton.
Oh.
And we both were so touched because here's the GM Tech Center, 170,000 square feet, and they're honoring her. And when we went public, if you will, with Betty, I did a few talks and presentations at the National Corvette Museum, and I met Kai Spandy, who ran the National Corvette Museum, the manufacturing plant. And they spearheaded through the Women of GM for us to show the documentary 500 women from GM around the world. And probably 99% of them had never heard of Betty Skelton until we did that documentary. Paula Murphy, the first woman to test drive at the Indy with Andy Granatelli. And Eddie Sachs. And, her son, Dan Murphy, God bless him, he's been trying to get her story to be told. And he hooked up with Eric Arneson from Fox, who wrote a book on her. And Pam and I connected, and we all kind of connected, and we took her story. But the blessing with Paula is she's from the Palmdale area. I grew up in the Santa Clarita area. She was alive while we were working on this, so I got to spend a lot of time with her. And it's like, oops, sorry. Speaking of Steve Sudler, she got to, she became like my mom. She hated the way I drove. I hated the way she drove. We always were bantering back and forth. And when she passed, I was just devastated. We got to be just really, 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 really close. And then Shirley Muldowney, oh gosh, what a blessing to be able to work with her. She's 84 years old. Pam and I are very connected to her. In fact, I've spent already 150 hours this year alone, or last year in 2024, scanning her thousands and thousands of pictures. So we have a library of Shirley Muldowney. And the NHR was really good to us. And we want to continue to shout out and celebrate Shirley since she's still alive.
Those inspirational documentaries, Pam talked a lot about it and the development of it. And I know how proud she is and how proud you are of all of it.
Yeah.
You could also be proud of something we don't talk about on this program that often, but I guess it would fall into the cultural category, but physical fitness. You've really been a champion of fitness in so many ways. What are you doing today? And give us a little snapshot of maybe what you want to work on related to physical fitness.
Oh, that's probably a pretty bad question right now. I have a Peloton that, as my son always says, Mom, why do you just hang the clothes on the Peloton and not ride the Peloton?
But through the years,
It-
you've been so
yeah,
active. You're so active.
yeah. I was really blessed. I had a congressional appointment actually, and ran a foundation called the National Foundation on Fitness, Sports Nutrition. This was during the Obama administration, and it's kind of back to what Pam and I are doing now. Is I worked with a company called Hop Sports, and we produced on a green screen physical fitness programs with celebrities and professional athletes, and took them into schools where you played them on a projector on the gym wall. So at that time, No Child Left Behind Act, PE teachers were being eliminated, childhood obesity was rampant. So now we created this technology where as many in the room could hold at one time. And I actually established the Guinness Book of World Records with the Washington Redskins.
That's right.
Well, now the Commanders. I think it was 788 kids on the football field working out at one time. And then Arthur Blank, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, heard about it. He said, I want to break that world record. So about a month later, we had over 2,000 kids. And then I was invited by China, the Ministry of Health, to go over there and talk about the success of our technology. And I was in Tiananmen Square. And I've always said the day before I die, I want to do a world program on jumbotrons and stadiums and Tiananmen Square of the most children around the world. I'm probably not going to make that happen at this time, but I always think big, and Tiananmen Square is pretty big, so that was on my bucket list of things to do.
Unbelievable. As you think about the next set of goals that you want, whether it's for women in motorsports North America or any other endeavor that you're involved in, of which there are many, what is it that you'd like to accomplish next, Cindy? What's on your to-do list?
Oh my goodness gracious! Well, you got another hour or two? You got another couple of days?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding you. I'm pretty smitten.
Endless energy.
Endless energy. People like, how do you do it all? And somebody just asked that today. Well, one, I don't sleep. Two, I don't look at it as work. What I do every day is joy in my life. So I'm a multitasker. I wear multiple hats, as you can see and tell, but I surround myself around really good people. And it's the people that you surround yourself that believe in your cause or believe in your dreams. That's what makes you successful. I'm very smitten right now by a new racing series or racing league called Racing Prodigy. I want to dedicate a little bit more time to that because what they've invented, the first esport to real racing league, can really change or move the needle on motorsports. And I think there's tremendous opportunity right there. I do want to do more documentaries with Pam. We don't want to just be known as female centric. There's a couple of dudes, if you will, that we think are worthy of telling their stories the right way. And I just want to be a good person and be a good mom.
And you have a good book in you. You said, and you're going to call it "How to Succeed in Business Without Crying."
Oh my God, who is your researcher?
No, but really, I mean, what would that book entail? How to Succeed in Business Without Crying. Give me a few. You've obviously you've written it in your mind.
Yeah, I think about it a lot. There are so many stories inside here of times that I've made mistakes. I mean, that's the biggest learning, is making your mistakes. Just ways to get around things and ways to make, it's always going to come back to making a difference in people's lives. I am a big, big believer in networking. LinkedIn is one of my favorite tools in the toolbox. One of the things that I'm really pride myself in, let's use the 620 people that signed up for the summit this year. Every person who signed up, I sent a thank you note to.
Oh,
last year,
wow.
Every person I sent a thank you. And the year before, I sent a thank you. So you can imagine my database is pretty big, but that just one little kernel of, even if it's a thank you, It makes people feel special, cared about, and want to be a part of your universe. And
What a differentiator. What a differentiator.
yeah, yeah,
Huh.
that's something I have a lot of pride in.
Let's go back to Racing Prodigy for a minute. Give me a little bit more background on that.
Well, actually, what I'd like you to do is interview David Cook,
Hmm.
the founder. It's an amazing story, but right now, some amazing people are involved. Boris Said, Max Pappas, Tatiana Calderon. These are coaches of Racing Prodigy. But originally, it started out, there's over 100,000 applications. We had a draft this year at Silverstone with Williams, Formula One. They're one of the teams. There's 6 teams, 4 drivers, and age anywhere from 14 to 45. It's not just US centric, it's all over the world. And Racing Prodigy pays for these people to race if they're on the team. And really, again, it's to find talent based on their performance, just not a huge wallet that can pay your way to race. And that's what I love about it. I think it has the opportunity to be the biggest or most diverse racing series in the world. And as you know, we can't avoid diversity anymore. It's got to be everybody, all ages, genders, blah, 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 blah. So
Right, right.
I do want you to dedicate some time to learning more about that, and I'll send you some information as well.
Absolutely. That's great. We'd love to have David on the program. We have Susie Wolf coming up on the program as well. The world needs more people like Susie Wolf, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, she's doing amazing work. The talent that they're curating from the different teams. We have 3 Americans this year. I think Susie's fantastic. I had the pleasure and honor of meeting her. I was her guest at the Austin race and the Miami Grand Prix. Actually, have a really cool limited edition Puma shoes painted from the Miami Grand Prix that I got last year. I wish her well. I would love to do more with them. And we'll just see. Time will tell.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Just in the few minutes we have left, you've described yourself as a cat who has 9 lives, and you've also said one of your favorite quotes is that coincidence is God's way of staying
Oh,
anonymous.
yeah,
Smart, Mark Twain, right?
yeah, yeah.
What an incredible 9 lives you have lived in, and that you have lived rather, and and I would bet that there are many more lives to go, don't you, Cindy? I mean, the next iteration of Cindy, I would love to see. Because I don't think that there's any corner of not only racing but of our world in general that we're probably not going to find you. But I want to finish with your bathroom because this is a legendary story. If somebody who has as much coincidence as possible, not coincidence, as somebody who's lived as many lives as you have lived, you have chosen to paper, or you did paper, your bathroom with some of those memories. What in the world am I talking about?
Like I said, I don't sleep at night and I come up with crazy ideas. So I'm a voracious collector of business cards, and I had stacks and stacks. I'm like, they're just sitting in a folder. So I called Tina Budd, this a few years back, and said, "Hey, come on up. Let's wallpaper my bathroom." So we sorted out all the cards, like who would be above the toilet and who would be to the side of the toilet and who would be below the toilet. So she was really anxious and she went upstairs and started wallpapering them all randomly. And I'm like, no, no, that's not my vision. So we had to go get a steamer, take them off. I had Mike Helton and Billy, uh, um, boy, Jane, Bill, oh, I'm struggling on this one. Bill France's wife, Betty Jane, sorry. Just
Okay,
some
yes.
beautiful people. And we had to take them off and then reposition them. But it was a great way to find a number. We didn't have all the tools we have today when I started that, like your Apple database and
Sure,
Google and all that kind of
sure.
stuff.
Your
But
digital
I have
wallet.
to, the digital wallet. So my plan is to do this again. I have buckets and buckets and buckets that are just waiting. But I sold that house and I couldn't move the walls with me. So I'm going to get big pieces of plexiglass, and I have a whole room upstairs. I'm just going to do the whole room and recreate that. It's an experience to remember the time I met that person and when they gave me the card.
Incredible moment. I mean, the super connector has to do that, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yeah. What else are you going to do with your business cards?
Right. But just as a final thing, the power of connection, right? Your ability to connect and the brands that have helped shape your career from those connections, building on all of those different opportunities has led you to where you are today. Your message to those listening who are younger, who don't understand the power of connection, what would you say?
Go for it. And I'm stealing that from Lynn St. James.
Yeah.
But really it is. You cannot be afraid. LinkedIn, again, I have, I think, over 11,000 followers, and it takes a while to grow that. But if you're not being purpose driven in your outreach to people, you're going to go nowhere. The other thing is when you do meet someone and you do get a business card, don't just send them an email. Write them a letter, put a little stamp on it. It's going to cost 40 cents. But the difference that you'll be making by something physical, we still love physical assets in our world. That would be something I would highly recommend for the next generation. Volunteer, intern, get involved in mentorships, be out there, put yourself out there. You just can't do it sitting behind a computer like we are now, Justin. You have to be out into the universe.
So the fifth iteration of the Women with Drive Summit will take place later on this year. We will check back in with you after that and probably before it too, Cindy.
I hope before.
Well, certainly. Thank you for being on the program. Thank you for being such an integral part of car culture. And you are cars and culture. So we think it's appropriate to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Really fun.